Well, it's that time again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the interview with Craig Veltri.
Thank you, Megan Pennington, and welcome to the interview. I had the pleasure of catching my guests at an open mic in Nashville recently. I told her that her lyrics were aggressively optimistic. Upon hearing the My Name Natives output, as skilled and powerful as she is with an alt pop song with an underwater mix, her latest single, Love of My Life, shows her at her strongest, stripped down with just a couple of clean electric guitars that left this listener in a trance. Love of My Life is available on streaming and will be played at the end of this episode. Recording in Charlotte, North Carolina, and calling in from Nashville, Tennessee, here she is, Cheryl Maria. Cheryl, welcome to the interview.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited to have you here. Now, when I told you that your music was aggressively optimistic, do you remember what you said to me?
I think I said something along the lines of my life has sort of forced me to be.
Well, upon hearing that and upon reading over your bio on Spotify, it says in part, after decades in spiritual systems that silenced me and a decade more building someone else's vision, I broke free. In 2020, I started over $700, a suitcase, a laptop, and a heart full of stories. So let's begin there. Can you fill in the blanks on all of that?
Wow. Where to begin? Yeah, there's definitely a lot. There's a lot of blanks to fill in, but there's a lot of story to it. I was born into a religious organization, to put it that way. Um, And I think what I have in common with a lot of churches and religions is that becomes your whole identity.
Right.
And as a child, I was pretty much separated from my immediate family, my parents and everything, and raised by the community mostly. They were somewhere in satellite, but not directly involved in my life for the most part. And that I think had bearing on a lot of insecurities that were born in my childhood. So, with that context, I leaned heavily into the religion. It was like, okay, well, Jesus is the safe place to be.
Right.
And that kind of carried on through my young adult years. And I sort of thought, that was the answer to all of life's problems and all the issues. You just throw it all onto the big J and
So, well, a lot of people, in fact, I think anybody with a religious background would also note that that's where their musical background began. Would that be true of you?
it does have a lot to do with it. And gospel music, Christian music, music being a very spiritual medium, it is used in religious contexts to connect both to your community and to what is divine, I think. And that is, I think, something that you experience when doing choir or gospel or when singing with a bunch of people. Like, that's power. There's a lot of power in that. And it's both connecting you to people, so it's making you feel warm and euphoric, and there's something somatic about it. There's something like physically that actually connects you to people when you're making sound together and creating harmony, those vibrations of harmony. That's not just sound, that's like actually moving the molecules in the air, and it's creating something really powerful. So um
Was writing as well something that you were getting involved in around this time as well? And I'll throw in the guitar question later, but usually when people start writing songs, it's usually without an instrument. So was the writing an outlet for you as well back then?
Yes, it was. I was always into like words and poetry. I mean, growing up with the King James Bible being like the main source of education that we had, I got into Shakespeare a lot, and so I loved just the plays on words. Also traveling internationally, I learned a few languages. I speak 5 languages, and learning
Wow.
the way that different languages actually interpret emotions and speak to emotions in different ways.
Have you written
It
in other languages?
I haven't. I don't think I'm quite confident in those languages. I can converse comfortably in German and Russian and Spanish, and I speak a little French and Italian, um but I haven't really like written more than like a phrase. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll like mentally translate an English word into another one of those languages, and it sounds a little comedic, so it's it's kind of a it's a funny outlet.
Yeah, it, it became kind of a thing that happened quite a bit. Like post 1999, you heard a lot of Spanish inflections and a lot of Spanish words going into decidedly English savvy and English leaning songs. So
Mhm.
I something that I haven't done because I decided to take French 6 years in college and never went to a French speaking country. So it's really a parlor trick at this point. Greatest regret is that I didn't take Spanish in this country. So eventually you did break free of this. Do you remember like the moment you just decided that it's time for me to get away from this, let's call it environment?
Mhm. Yeah, I was in my late 20s, and I think at that point it wasn't so much I have to get away from this, because I was still very into the religion of it. But it was sort of like the structure wasn't working for me, and I thought there's got to be something different. So I moved away. I started playing in restaurants. I was just playing songs and kind of doing the gigging thing on my own for a couple of months, and I really had no idea what else I wanted to do. Like, I was very lost. And then I went to Switzerland, and somebody was starting a band and a company, a friend of a friend that was also kind of connected to the same history. They were starting a band and a company and had all these incredible visions for, like, this is an amazing future that we're going to build. And I got inspired, and I was like, okay, I'll help out, I'll do this. Anyways, it turned out to be a little bit more toxic than ideal.
I see.
And that it lasted for 10 years, and I think a lot got accomplished in the sense of, music wise, there were a lot of songs written. We did a lot of traveling, but behind the scenes it was really, really toxic, and it was tearing down my mental health very intensely. And by the time
Is this in the time that you actually wrote your? Was this when you released the T for Three EP around that time
Actually,
frame?
that EP was like just in between. So right before I joined that band thing, that I had just started, and I actually recorded those with a cousin of mine in Paris. So
Uh,
I just started like working with these people in Switzerland, and I said, "Oh, I have some songs that I really want to record, and I know somebody in Paris. I'm just gonna hop over and get those songs recorded." I think there was actually 5 on that little EP, but I didn't salvage the whole. They were on a CD. I burnt them on a CD, and I only had a couple that I
the
like put
dying
up on,
days of the CD,
right?
2010. So
I mean, that was the time.
yeah. Well, I mean, no regrets. I think is still one of your stronger songs from back then, and I mostly admire just because as somebody who tries to save his right hand as many calluses as humanly possible. I'm not much of a finger picker, the Knopfler, Buckingham kind of style banjo picking, if you will, and you are quite proficient at that. Why
I
do you
have to
have that?
say that was not me playing that guitar.
Oh,
That was
really?
that was my cousin. He's badass.
Okay. Well,
But
still
yeah,
that it's still that kind of rhythm, and I'm sure that's something that you could play out. Do you still play any of this stuff from back then?
I I play more rhythm. I do a little finger picking. Um, I'm not as swift with the chord fingers as all that, but I do like to do a little finger picking and plucking away.
Well, and it, so that is to say that you do keep an actual pick on your person sometimes.
Yes, most of the time, but I like to pick with my fingers, and then I have my little thumb pick as well, which I've grown attached to.
Well, and as far as the songs, so probably outside your playing range, but do these songs from that far back still make it into your original shows at all?
A little bit, yes. Yeah, I think No Regrets. I don't think I've played T for three. It has I have sort of a mixed emotion about that song. And when I hear it now, it's kind of like that was a piece of the time.
Yeah, a lot. I have a lot of songs back that I I'm not that person anymore. I have no really desire to really push that narrative or push that story out into my life. So is it a lot of that too with you, or is that
Yeah, there's definitely that. And I think it is so wonderful to be able to evolve. And then even being able to look back and see the personality that wrote those songs and be able to appreciate it with its innocence, maybe a little naivete, maybe a little just whatever it was, the youth, and just kind of like love that past version of yourself and accept that that's, now we've grown up a little bit.
We're here with Cheryl Maria here on the Craig Veltri interview, proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network, scarfireradio.net. Go to bonfire.net and get some lovely merchandise, including the Craig Veltri interview water bottle. Coming soon, also in koozies and t-shirts and coffee mugs. I promise you, coffee mugs, because the Craig Veltri interview goes very well with a nice cup of Joe. I promise you that. So we stepping back just a little bit. So that was 2010, that record. 2020, where was the moment where you took your suitcase, took your $700 and broke away?
Yeah, it was quite a difficult journey to that point. And I was very conflicted because I loved the things that we were doing with that band. Like we traveled to all kinds of countries. We were in Sweden, New Zealand, and Australia, and Japan, and Philippines. Like, we were everywhere. And it was exciting to be producing a lot, but dealing with so much toxicity. And I don't want to get into too much detail, but it was
Don't have to.
detrimental. Um, and it came to the point that it felt like this was either I was either gonna leave like life in general or just this band. So it kind of came down to that. And
Was it just anxiety, or was there also, if you don't mind me asking, was there a chemical element to this as well?
it was not so chemical. It was very I would just say it was verbal, psychological, and interrelational. There was a lot of control and power plays and things that seem, let's see, how would I possibly say it without just like trauma dumping? But
Clearly, you haven't heard my records, but
right. But yes, there was a lot of control. There were most of the decade I was actually not even allowed to be in frequent contact with my own family. I wasn't allowed to even send professional emails without getting them double checked
oh
by the
wow.
boss, or like everything was so controlled. And there was a spiritual element too, so it was a little bit like voice of God person, I have the right to say everything and you're never right, and so on and so forth. And so moving away from that, like it came to the point that I was like, okay, this just isn't working. I need external help. And then I was able to get in contact with my sister who had been doing different work with somatic healing and trauma recovery and things. And so basically she threw me a lifeline and I hung on. And then it came to a point I started just gradually like bringing my own energy back into myself. Like I didn't need validation anymore because that had been a thing, but you stay in those relationships because you need validation from this person. Oh, they're important. They,
Which I completely relate to, which and hearing some backstory on this, your single loneliness, probably one of the most beautiful lines I've read all year. I found freedom and she gave me loneliness, told me to learn this well, and you'll be free.
mm,
I think about the end of my marriage. I think about the beginning of my sobriety, and it really I can definitely relate to the fact that I had to get used to being in my own skin. Was that I will ask who is the she that you are referring to, but just in general, it clearly was just this had to have been just kind of reflection on those prior years, was it not?
yes. Um, you mean she when I was just saying now?
When she gave me and she gave me
Oh,
loneliness, was it the parting of that band? Was it a spiritual kind of she, or
I
was it the
think
she within you?
I referred to freedom as a feminine in this instance. I found freedom and she gave me loneliness. And I think that was very much because I was coming to understand feminine energy as freedom, as this beautiful expression of life and like the mother, the giver of life. And I didn't really think too much about why I called freedom a she, but it just felt right.
I was thinking perhaps it had something to do with verb tenses going across different languages, perhaps.
Maybe. And that they're in other languages they do genderize a lot more things than we do in English. The window is masculine and the door is a feminine. You know, there's you know, there's a lot more genderization of any noun in other languages. But I think when it comes to more esoteric or what do you call it, elements like freedom.
Right.
That is, it's sort of, it can be either. It has both masculine and feminine to it. And I guess just in my case, it was my freedom to accept, that being a woman doesn't mean you have to be dependent on a masculine, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to be closed off to the masculine, but you need to find that divine masculine that's a correct partner for you instead of the toxic imbalance of power that I think we're learning a lot more about in recent times.
Cheryl Maria here on the Craig Veltri interview on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network. Check out everything going on with the brand new website, scarfireradio.net. We'll hopefully be switching that over to scarfiremedia.com shortly. But for now, scarfireradio.net and follow us on all the social medias. Let's talk about the soundscapes that you have implemented with the loneliness up until now. I've said that you admit yourself that you've gotten comparisons to Taylor Swift and a lot of that underwater stuff from her later eras, pretty much ever since she started working with Jack Antonoff. It's been, all of that. It's been that very atmospheric underwater kind of mix. Is that a note from the producer? Is that how you hear it when you're going into the studio?
It must be a note from the producer because I didn't do that deliberately. I actually had, especially in the song Loneliness, I had more of an Evanescence sort of thematic, deep, emotional drama.
You were belting on that one. So
Yeah, so I did definitely feel more of almost like an emo rock kind of vibe to that one. But yeah, I don't try to stick too hard to a genre. I feel like genres can be limiting, and I guess a lot of artists feel that way.
I do.
Um, yeah. And like it's art, you're listening to the emotion that you want to project in the song and whatever fits that emotion can go in. Whatever subtracts from that emotion can stay out. And that's like how I feel about it.
And then in turn, you come out with Love of My Life, which is decidedly pretty bare bones. From what I can hear, it sounds just like you double tracked in a double track on a harmony and a very verby electric guitar. Did you do that yourself?
Yeah, I did that one all myself. That was actually kind of I did that one pretty much all in a day. And it was sort of my little experiment with recording my own stuff right here at home. And yeah, it was just a spur of the moment kind
Uh,
of.
was it spur of the moment in the writing of that song? Was it uh, what love and what love of the life were you talking to? It didn't really seem like seemed like it was attached to a person.
Yeah, well, it was at the time.
Okay, we're not considering them a person at the moment. I got it.
Well, yeah. Life is life. You don't get to make all the decisions yourself.
I see.
But yeah, it was basically attached to a person.
Uh, uh, the use of just what kind of an electric were you working with?
That's funny that it sounds like an electric. It was actually my acoustic, my mini Taylor. Um,
Really, the
yeah,
very one you played at Drifters.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so what kind of a DAW were you using? Were you just kind of playing around with presets and you just really liked how it sounded?
Yeah, I work with Logic. I've got my little Focusrite. I have the simplest setup possible. And yeah, I just played around with different plugins and sounds until I thought it sounded nice. And I didn't think too hard about it because it was everything from the writing to the recording to the mastering. And within like 3 hours, I had put it up on DistroKid and I was like, that's it. That's going out.
I wish I could say the same. Actually, I enjoyed working with the producer on the single that I did, but it was pretty similarly bare bones, and I just wanted to get that song in question out myself, and it's called Saving Up Dreams, and it's on streaming. So if you are beginning to dabble now in home recording, are you looking more into producing more music at this point, or is this you're nodding your head yes?
Yes, definitely. Like I do enjoy recording a little bit of acoustic and bare bones, but my I feel like my skill is still so basic and I feel too limited in really creating all the songs because a lot of the songs that I've written and that I want to produce, they have more elements. Like and they span a lot of genres. Like I have songs that I want to come out in like a reggaeton dance kind of vibe, and then I have some that I think would probably be great EDM songs. I have some that would be amazing. Let me just I have a whole list here of stuff.
Oh
I
my.
have some that would be like definitely more like punk rock pop. Um, and then I have some that's like more of a pop ballad that's going to be like very melodic. And yeah, I like all the different styles and songs just come to me in whatever flavor that they hit my head. So I would like to be able to work with producers and other people who are more versed in in producing those other sounds so that I can bring it out.
I'm already kind of seeing in your eyes that you're thinking, okay, I need a basement, I need a soundproof room, and I need a 100 channel board about yay wide, and
Mm,
and somebody who knows how to work this thing.
yeah.
Uh and with all that eclecticness that you talk about, and it certainly ringing a lot of bells for me in what I'm doing in the next year or so with my music. What is that going to look like for you? Have you already sought out these producers? Have you already begun recording these songs, or are these really just ideas at the moment?
I've been talking to different producers. There's one that's starting to work on a couple of songs. We're gonna see how that works out, and I'm really excited. Um, So yeah, there could be a couple songs produced in the next month or two, I'm gonna say.
How much of a
And
turnaround are you seeing? Is it going to be by year's end or beginning of 2026? Some more Cheryl Maria music.
I think by year's end we're gonna have some more of my music out there.
Well, look forward to that. And I do notice that you have a lot of like background videos on your Spotify. Are you looking at further promotion of Love of My Life Pacific? Is that going to be a music video? Is there going to be more uh, podcast appearances? What does the rest of the marketing for that look like for you?
Hmm. Well, I do love a good podcast appearance, so I'm really happy that you invited me today.
Right here.
I I love being able to talk about my story, and I didn't get too deep into it today, but really for me the gold and the value of my story is bringing it back to what you said about that. It hit me when you said what was the word you described me in the beginning? Stubbornly
Aggressively optimistic.
aggressively optimistic. And I had never thought about that, but I was like, it rings very true because I feel like all the obstacles or whatever you want to call them, the traumas and dramas of life, they bring out this sort of fighter in me. And it's not an angry fighter. There is rage underneath for sure, but the rage comes out in this resilience and this bounce back and this aggressively optimistic characteristic that it's like, no, I don't care how much life has beat me down, and I've been through a lot of pain. Yes, I have, but guess what? That pain has made me stronger, and guess what? That means that your pain can also like be the I'm going to use the word manure that fertilizes your field and makes all your art grow. So that's the
That
deal.
that's one way of putting it, but catharsis is one hell of a relief. It really is
It
just,
is. It really is.
the blues, folk, sad songs, it's just kind of a release valve for the soul. It's a
100%.
wonderful thing. It's been great to experience your music. And we have a nice way of closing here on the Craig Veltri interview. It is called the No Kidding Questionnaire, a couple of rapid fire questions. First thing
Ooh.
that comes to your mind, Cheryl, whenever you're ready, and away we go. Childhood celebrity crush.
Uh-oh. Conflicted, but I'm gonna start with Brad Pitt.
What is it about the dude? The smile, the eyes, the hair, the abs. What's it about him?
The whole aesthetic. Like, what's that movie with the brothers and the bear?
The brothers and the bear.
It's just like, uh,
Uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't know which one that would be.
it's
Comment
on the
down
tip
below
of,
if you remember it.
yeah, where he has all these brothers, and it's this terribly long movie, but Anthony Hopkins plays the father, and it's so dramatic.
Oh,
And
were they like caught in the woods or something? And
yeah,
they
they
were
lived out in the like
yeah.
Wild
I
West.
remember it, and they killed a bear, and then I think spoiler, Brad Pitt died. It's a 20-year-old movie, but uh,
Yeah, it's a really old movie. But anyways, that was kind of like that was my it was conflicted because everybody else liked him, so I didn't want to like him, but he was so good looking, and I was like, God damn it.
I was kind of the same way, but just in kind of that it's like, well, he ain't as hot as me. And then I saw
Right.
him in one of his early roles, Thelma and Louise, and I'm like,
Mm,
okay, that dude's cool.
he's
He's
way too
badass.
pretty.
Spent the scene with him showing Gina Davis's character how to do a hold up with a hair dryer. So
Yeah,
so he was my dude from then on. But
awesome.
moving on with the questionnaire, favorite subject in school.
Grammar, I would say English.
Okay. A lot of people prefer the literature side. So you were more fascinated with how language and considering you wound up learning four more on top of English, you were more interested in just how the words flew together in a technical sense.
Yeah, it was fascinating. Well, it was technical, but it's fascinating how when you switch words around, you can change the meaning. You can use the same words and have a completely different meaning. And also there's a lot of comedy that arises from just random misusage of words, and I thought that was fun.
George Carlin has a really great bit about pricking your finger, and I'll just leave it at that. Somewhere my friend Brian Baker is howling listening to that me make that reference. Moving on. What occupation other than your own would you like to attempt?
Hmm. Well, I am dabbling in the world of health and healthcare and uh, somatic beauty care for women because I do find that it attaches a lot to mental health and um, self-talk and the way that we approach ourselves. So that's actually something that I'm actively starting and working on. Um,
You look good, you feel good, and I have noticed on your social medias you have been wearing a lot of exfoliating masks here and there. I assume that's part of that.
I do like it, yes. I love doing little DIY stuff. A little clay mask feels nice, a little purifying for the skin.
No, well, uh, it may just be your smile, but yeah, you're definitely shining today.
Thank
So
you, thank you.
on the other side of the coin, I don't care how many bags of money are handed to you, Cheryl. Would you never? What job would you never want to attempt?
That's a hard one because I grew up with the idea that you should be willing to do anything.
Well, I usually give the caveat for this reason. It can be something you've done before.
Right. Something I would never want to do. That's still difficult because I feel like I can make the aggressive positive person within me is like, I can make anything work.
so
So it's hard, yeah.
so we'll put you down for up for anything and right the old saying, woman has a right to change her mind. So
Let's go
uh
with
so
that.
moving on, you've been around the world, but what is your go-to food on a road trip?
Mm. On a road trip, accessibility is key
Mhm.
and time because usually I don't think of food until I'm starving and I don't want to have to wait.
I am the same way, actually.
So, a sandwich is great. Having pre-made like boiled eggs. I always pre-make my lunch anyways. So,
So what's it, if we can use something from another Brad Pitt movie? What's in the box?
um,
Lunchbox, that is.
lunchbox. Let's see. Well, usually
Boiled
it
eggs, as
changed
you
week by
mentioned.
week. Yeah, boiled eggs. That was my lunch yesterday. 5 of them. That was way too much. Um,
Hey, I have four every morning. So
yeah.
not boiled, but sunny side up.
That's
Just
a
call me
little
Gaston. So
yes. But except there was dozens.
so I'm roughly the size of a
There you
March.
are.
So
Exactly. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes it's a turkey burger, homemade turkey burger, or a salad with salmon and shrimp.
you make
And
the
that
distinction of a turkey burger, so not a lot of red meat in your diet.
it depends week by week. Like some this week I went hard on the turkey, so that's what it is. And next week I'll probably go for beef. I don't actually like pork. That's probably one of my few limitations with food.
So it's not
I
an
usually
allergy. It actually is just you don't like the taste of it.
yeah,
Okay.
just a taste preference.
And moving to Tennessee, oh, I hope you get over it. They sure know a couple of ways to cut and stuff a pig for sure. Um,
Nice.
moving on, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, I think I would love to have dinner with Alanis Morissette.
A rather fascinating and just pivotal character, especially just not just merely a female songwriter, but as a songwriter. I think her style is just jagged little pill really just changed everything, and I love the follow-up as well.
Yeah.
Do you what was it uh during that conversation, what would you want to learn from Alanis?
I I would just love to feel her vibe in person. And I would like to feel the energy that gave her courage to kind of be the first one to normalize songs, like the kind of songs that she wrote, like You Ought to Know, and just normalize feminine rage
I
and make that okay for us to feel when nothing else did.
I think she gets kind of pigeonholed as far as as far as that song because it was so angry and it was so in your face and it was almost too much information on that
But
one.
that was what made it for like me as a teenager. I was what, 15 or 14 when I first heard that song. And it was life-changing. It was seriously life-changing. It was because those kind of things were never okay to say out loud, right? Because there was so much information and because it was so like in your face and all the emotions of rage that were like not permissible. We had to suppress them. We had to stay good. We had to stay like composed. And even if you felt anger, there's a good way to go about it, kind of thing. Whereas she kind of paved the way for like, this is actually what you're feeling. And so we connected with it instantly. He was like, yes, it is what I'm feeling. How is it okay for you to say it? And then, and then just kind of like, that's why the song became such a huge hit, I think, because there
It
were so
broke her
many of us who were just
it
suppressing all that.
it broke her through, but everything kind of after that, it was her trying to settle into being vulnerable, it seemed. It's clear she had some teeth even in a song like Head Over Feet.
Hmm.
But it was her just trying to make sense of her emotions and everything else, and maybe and everything else after that, uninvited was kind of not as angry, but still, here's, stay
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
this is not
It
right.
was still like for me as a child or a teenager with so many things that the world felt unsafe. Those songs hit me so hard because it was like, yeah, even if I'm vulnerable, even if I want to invite somebody into my little world, you're not allowed to be here. Like this is, you know what I mean? It was like, this is unfortunate, but you can't be here. Like this is too scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, for as hot as she came on, uh it it's more unfortunate that, she kind of disappeared for a little while, after that supposed informer infatuated junkie, and she just kind of disappeared for a little while, and just kind and so I it's like I really I haven't heard much of her later output, but I it just seems to happen more with artists. It was almost like Lord. Lord had kind of her moment. She had her big hits, but it was never as big as that first record. And that's common in record business anyway. But I'd stand up pretty much anything that followed Jagged Little Pill for Alanis Morissette, as well as, you know as far as her later stuff. It was a really good catalog, and you know obviously we're still talking about her today, and
Yeah.
glad she's still out there.
Yeah, and I think also it's funny that you say that about like when an artist like has a huge surge of really popular songs but then disappears for a while. The way that I see it, because also I'm introverted, so like I love to go out and put my art out there, but then at the same time, I'm very happy to reserve the right to disappear. And I think for artists, especially once they hit a level of fame, the pressure is on so hard to keep pushing that and to keep on hitting, your next song has to be this and that and the other. And like, I mean, kudos to Taylor Swift for keeping that going and for staying on the front line, so to speak, for as long as she has. I just think that it's really okay for an artist to produce one incredible work of art or two or 10 or however many, and then not need to keep matching it. Like, let that be what you did then, and then go on to the next version of you, whether that's a family person or a homebody or, whatever else you want to do, a different style. Like, let yourself reinvent yourself. That's human.
Yeah.
That's that's
I
art.
I agree. I've often said that if that my end game, my end goal would kind of be a Jason Isbell kind of path. He's revered by his peers. He certainly has a great following. He can sell out theaters whenever the hell he wants. But I'm willing to bet you that he can walk into any Walmart in America and nobody bothers him. So
Hmm.
so that I think would be the dream. And no artist owes their fan any explanation as to why their output isn't as much. I think the public might have a few. I can think of a few artists that had some really great later works, and the public didn't come around to it. You can blame
Hmm.
that on management, and you can blame that on a few other factors that really could have elevated the thing and why it didn't, hit the
Hmm.
mark in the public. But you can control what you can control, and
Yeah,
as long as the artist is happy with everything, as long as they're getting paid for what they put out there. To
that part.
to be clear, I
Yeah,
completely sign off on all of that. Last
100%.
question of the questionnaire. What is the best advice, Cheryl Maria, that anyone has ever given you?
Hmm. Just to follow the goosebumps.
Follow the goosebumps. What do you mean by that?
I saw that in a reel where Josh Groban was talking with he was talking on a podcast, and I think it was the Greatness, what's that one? School of Greatness podcast.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he started in theater and everything, and how it wasn't about more money, it wasn't about this or that, but it was like what felt right for him. And you know how you get goosebumps when you hear a song that just really rings true.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
actually
more.
a scientific thing. That's like a scientific thing when authenticity is in the air, that vibration is what gives you the goosebumps. The vibration of authenticity is what gives the goosebumps. And so when Josh Groban was talking about how he started theater and this and like his little journey, and he said follow the goosebumps. And that was like what he learned. And I think they went on to talk about like it's great that we're privileged enough to have the freedom to follow the goosebumps because it's not always what makes the money. And so people who are kind of trying to make money through their music, they don't always feel like they have that luxury. But for myself, even at the beginning stages, and I can't say that I'm really making money yet with music, I still think it's the most important thing to do is to follow the goosebumps and trust that the money's going to come some way or another. But that goosebump thing, that authenticity, that really true part of why you make the music, what you're saying, that's the most important thing. Because there's nothing worse than a song that doesn't ring true. There's nothing worse than like just a limp piece of like pretend.
I I don't know if you ever
Right?
seen the musical Bye Bye Birdie, but you gotta be sincere. And by the
Word.
way, having listened to a couple of your songs, I wound up rubbing my arm a couple of times trying to shake
Oh,
off the goosebumps as well. So I think you not only have you followed said goosebumps, you found a bunch of them in this
sweet.
person.
Yay.
We have a nice another way of closing on this program. In fact, should be the favorite part of the program for anybody that appears on this show. It is time for shameless self promotion. The music is
Yeah,
available online and on all streaming services. Where can we find your music and where can we find you? Fire away.
excellent. So as of now, I am on Instagram and TikTok under CherylMaria.music. That's CherylMaria dot music. And those are my social media tags. So anywhere Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are where you'll find me. I have taken down my website for now because I'm reconstructing. This is the artist's right to reinvent oneself.
Right.
And so yes, as of now, please find me cherylmaria.music on social medias and Cheryl Maria on Spotify.
We look forward to seeing the new website, the new music, and you in person. Thank you so much, Cheryl Maria, for joining me here today on the Craig Veltri interview.
Thank you, Craig. Such a pleasure.
The Craig Veltri interview, where Craig Veltri interviews wonderful people, is a production of Scarfire Media, the voice of the independent artist. Written and edited by Craig Veltri. Your announcer is Megan Pennington. The opening theme, Shut Up, I Love You, written by Trenton Chandler and Craig Veltri. Performed by Craig Veltri. Produced by Jack Gavin. The new single, Saving Up Dreams, is available now on all streaming along with all of my music. Check it out now. Time now to update the event calendar because you must know where I am at all times. Brought to you in part by Sandpiper Entertainment and Root Down Entertainment. I promise I will never do that again. Friday, September 26th, Wicked Tuna at 2nd Avenue Pier in Myrtle Beach from 4 to 7 p.m. Then on Saturday, September 27th, the Bigham Tavern at Bridgewater welcomes Moonshine Vagabonds, myself, and Mama Megan Pennington from 7 to 10 p.m. For full dates, go to craigveltri.bandzoogle.com. For booking info, including full band in this podcast, email me at craigveltriofficial@gmail.com. You can find the interview on Facebook by searching the Craig Veltri interview, YouTube at Craig Veltri Music, and you can find me on Instagram, or as my old roommate, the Tommy Thomas, used to call it, Instagirl at Craig.Veltri. For Cheryl Maria, I'm Craig Veltri, and this has been the Craig Veltri interview. With that, I'll pass. To play us out is Cheryl Maria with Love of My Life on the Craig Veltri interview, proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network.
I can't tell you how hard it's been staying away for so long, darling. My feelings for you are too strong. I get scared you'll walk away. You're too good to me, you're good for me, and all I want is to be so, so good to you. So how about being the love of my life? How about stepping up and making up for all the lost time? How about waking up each morning smiling, tangled up in love? How about saying, babe, will you be my wife? There's nothing worse than being so close but unable to touch. My dream, my love, I'm missing you too much. I pulled away, avoid the pain. If you're not holding me, I can't pretend, I can't defend this crush. So how about being the love of my life? How about stepping up and making up for all the lost time? How about waking up each morning smiling, tangled up in love? How about saying, babe, will you be my wife? How about being the love of my life? How about stepping up and making up for all the lost time? How about waking up each morning tangled up in love? How about saying, babe, will you be my wife? How about saying, babe,